The Karin 190z, is it worth the $900,000 price tag that Rockstar put on it? In this video, I'll be going over the pros, the cons, and answering that question of should you buy it? Now, from what I've seen, this car is actually pretty controversial. A lot of people either like it or a lot of people either hate it. Not many people seem to be in the middle, and the reason all of this footage is from single players because when I was just browsing on Twitter to see what people were saying, a lot of the things were negative. So I didn't really want to go out and spend $1 million+ on this in online if I wasn't going to be keeping it, or if I wasn't going to be using it in the future, or if it just wasn't that good, you know? So I went to single player and we tested it out. Now I'm gonna start off by saying there are actually a lot of cons to this vehicle, but in my opinion, the pros are actually very good. Even though there's only a few of them, they, in my opinion, make up for the cons. Now, what do I not like? What is bad about this car? Let's get all of that out the way before we get into why I do like the car. First off, the price tag, I don't believe, even though I do like it, I don't believe it's worth $900,000. And if you upgrade it, and there's a ton of customization, you're going to be pushing $1.2, $1.3, $1.4 million on this vehicle. And I don't believe it's worth that price tag. I know all the other sport classic cars that come out are of similar price tags, but this one just doesn't seem to fit that as good as some of the other ones. One of the main cons to this vehicle is the performance. Do not, and I repeat, do not buy this vehicle if you are expecting a fast sports classic car. Really, you shouldn't be buying any sport classic cars unless it's the Turismo Classic if you're looking for speed and performance. The Turismo Classic is just head and shoulders above every other single sport classic vehicle that it's not really any competition. Now you see here, since I was in single player, we're doing the airport straightaway drag test, and you can tell which car is going faster by one, the speedometer, but by also looking at the left, and you can see the buildings and when you pass them. I believe we have the Silvestre, the Sterling GT, or the Stinger GT, the Turismo Classic, and this car, the Karin 190z. The Turismo we have because it's the best, the Silvestre because it's one of the most recent sport classic cars and it's also really good in terms of performance. And then I put the Stinger GT in here because the 190z heavily resembles the Stinger GT in my opinion. And that's another sort of con, which I'll get into in a second. But as for the performance, as for the top speed acceleration, the 190z just isn't that good. Going to actual top speed, it's about on par with the Stinger GT. They topped out both around about 115-ish. The Turismo Classic, it topped out at about 130 something. So you can just see the difference between top speeds between two cars in the same class. So again, just to reiterate the point, do not be buying this vehicle for performance. And that also is somewhat of a knock in free roam. Even if you're not buying this for racing, you're just buying it for free roam, because the acceleration, because the top speed, because they're not that good, if you're in a chase and you're trying to get away from someone, odds are they'll catch you. Now, handling isn't bad, and I'll talk about that in the pros section, but just because this thing isn't that quick, I don't really think it's going to be that useful or even that good in free roam, because it'll blow up in one little RPG or sticky bomb if someone's chasing you. Now, that kind of was talking about relating it to the Stinger GT. It looks really similar. Now, I'm guessing that's because the cars they're based on in real life are really similar, but it does look really similar. And I believe the Stinger GT is a little bit less expensive than this vehicle. And because it has about the same performance, if you already have a Stinger GT, the 190z isn't something that you maybe need to go out and get. Now, the one pro, the one benefit, and this is a huge benefit that the 190z has, is the customization. And let's talk about that. This is both in the pro category and the con category. We'll start with the con first. And it's right when you get into the custom shop. The first option is the arches. And I don't know what Rockstar was thinking here, but all of these options look horrible. And the reason they look horrible is because they stand out, or they're too far out. The wheels, it just looks so weird, so awkward, because the wheels aren't thick enough. The wheels are too thin. If they would have made an option where once you equip the arches, the wheels somehow just get bigger, it would have looked a lot nicer. But all of these arch options, they just look too goofy in my opinion. Now granted, that is subjective. Maybe you like that sort of look, but the more you drive it with those arches on, you kind of don't like them. And for me, the stock option was just the way to go. Another problem with the customization that I found was that the liveries, while were pretty unique and pretty good, they were hard to match with a lot of colors. And that's something that's disappointing. If you're if you're going to match colors with the liveries, you're unfortunately going to have to go to modded crew colors to get them to match properly. And a lot of the liveries that I liked, they took up way too much space on the car. One livery, it was like I thought it was a nice and simple livery on the side, just like some white lines or whatever, but it actually turned the hood black. And I didn't really like that. I wish I could just have the liveries on the side and not the hood livery. And some of the other ones, they take up a lot of space on the back, and then most of them, if you're using the vanity hood option, where you could see the hood, which I thought was kind of cool and unique, so I put it on. A lot of the liveries, and I guess this isn't anything that could be or could be changed, but a lot of those liveries, they just look goofy with that hood option. So the liveries are kind of a mixed bag. But the pros about the customization, as you can see me going through all of it, there is a ton. This is almost a Benny's Sport Classic vehicle. I mean, you even have engine customization with a lot of options. Now, for the bumpers, I was kind of disappointed. The bumpers was the only part that I didn't really care for because while there were a lot of options, the options were almost the same thing, just repeated without like a piece or something. But all of the other customization options were incredible. I love the hood options. I love the exhaust options. The exhaust option may be my favorite part. You can put the exhaust on the hood, which just looks phenomenal. No other car in the game, I believe, has that. So going back to the unique factor, this thing has a lot of unique things about it. One thing that was weird though, the spoiler, or a couple of the spoiler options, they are huge. So I would highly suggest not going with some of the last spoiler options because they just don't look good on this vehicle. Now, some other pros about this car, it sounds incredible. It may be one of my new favorite cars in terms of engine sounds. Just driving around, this thing sounds amazing. So if you are one who really likes engine sounds, that is gonna really make you happy. And then the thing that I found the most fun, and this is why it's last on my list, just driving it around. But there is a little asterisk on it. So I'm in single player, so I have the option to actually remove all of the NPCs. And by doing that, you can just drive around on the roads. And I had a really good time driving this car around. I think because it's not as fast, you don't lose control of it as often. And the handling is fairly good. Now, I will say it is a heavier car, it felt like. So when I'm taking turns and stuff, sometimes the car wouldn't turn quick enough, I guess, before I ran into a tree or something. But most of the time, whether it was using the brake or even the handbrake, you get really good traction on this vehicle, so it slides. Oh, well, if you're using the handbrake, it slides really nicely, and you don't over spin out or anything. And I just really enjoy driving it around. But the asterisk part is that you don't really have the option to do this in GTA Online. This is why I almost wish there was an option in invite-only sessions to not only turn cops off, but to turn NPCs off. How cool would that be, man? Just to go into your own invite-only session, maybe invite some friends, turn off the cops, turn off the NPCs, wouldn't be able to make money, fine with that, but you could just drive around in peace and quiet, not having to worry about NPC drivers running into you. I really, really wish that was an option. But with all that being said, is it worth the money and should you buy it? Now, this is one of those odd cars that's sort of in the middle because, like I said, I don't think it's worth the price tag. Maybe once it gets discounted, purchase it because it's got some awesome stuff. I love the customization. I personally, I love customizing vehicles. So even if it sucks in terms of performance, I'll still buy it for the customization. But it truly is hard to answer that question of should you buy it, because it is a car that you don't need. Nobody needs this car. However, I think a lot of people are going to want this car. So just depending on where you fall and if you have enough money, I give it a thumbs up. But unless you want to spend that money, then you may just want to hold off. Because keep in mind, the Comet SR is coming next week, and I think that's going to be one of the best sport cars in the game. So you're going to want to maybe save for that. But all in all, I think Rockstar did a fantastic job. It just sucks the performance kind of is lacking. But I guess not every car that they put out will be the best. But thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this vehicle in the comment section. Do you plan on buying it? Do you not plan on buying it? Please drop the video a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe for more awesome GTA content. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.